Now is Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, you have become as well a popular target of the left. They're trying to decouple any Republican who has a connection to the base and the intellectual chops to actually make a coherent argument across the board.
Well, look, the left right now, they feel resurgent. And for them, it's about power. They want to hold on to power. They want to expand power. And when they have their power, they want to ram through their socialist vision for this country. You know, I was listening to your opening monologue, and I think it is exactly right. You look at the left, and far too many in the Republican Party also. And for a long time, they have been on board with essentially what I'd call America last. Standing with our enemies, standing with the Chinese Communist government, standing with unlimited open borders, and standing against the working men and women. And I think the most significant political change of the last decade has been that the heart and soul of the Republican Party, we are a working class party now. We are a blue collar party. That's what we should have been, and that's what we are. And if we're standing with the men and women who want to work right now, look at the Democratic Party. They want to close your businesses. They want your kids to stay home. They close the schools, open borders, abolish the police, make your life less safe, your kids less safe, your family less safe. They side with our enemies and they abandon our friends. It's all completely backwards. But the good news is also what you just said. They're revealing exactly who they are. What does it say that the governor of New York and the governor of California are both in free fall? Their ideas don't work, and we're sadly going to see that play out more and more over the next 2 years. I think that's going to lead us to a very good 2022 and a very good 2024.
Yeah, we need a 50-state movement again. It can't be cobbling together things with Texas. You know, they're going to try to exploit the power grid failure in Texas. Obviously, that's going to happen. We got to have a 50-state movement. This hodgepodge of a few Rust Belt states and, you know, turn around 3 times and hope you're going to win the majority. It's just, I think it's got to be much broader. But, Senator, the new DHS secretary, he was out there today. He was asked whether he thought there was a crisis at our southern border. Watch.
I think that the answer is no. I think there is a challenge at the border. It is a stressful challenge. We are not only in addressing the urgency of the challenge, but also in building the capacity to manage it and to meet our humanitarian aspirations and execution of the president's vision.
Senator Cruz, building the capacity to manage the flow that he is personally encouraging, as I showed in the angle.
Well, you know, the Democrats are magicians. You remember we had 4 years of news stories about kids in cages? Well, those cages are being expanded. They're being reopened. Now that Biden's running them, they're simply safe humanitarian locations. Of course, Obama built the cages, and the reason we have little boys and little girls being brought in by human traffickers is because of Obama's amnesty program that served as a magnet to begin with. But you know, when the DHS secretary says there isn't a crisis at the border, from his perspective, he believes that because there's an old joke that the term illegal alien is no longer politically correct. The new term is undocumented Democrat. From his perspective, every person coming here illegally is another prospective voter. And the Democratic Party has abandoned the working class men and women, the millions of people who are out of jobs, who are seeing their wages pulled down, who are competing to provide for their families with people coming illegally. That's not who the Democratic Party represents anymore. They don't represent unions anymore. They don't represent construction workers or truck drivers or working men and women anymore. The Democratic Party today is the party of wealthy elites on both coasts. It's the party of big tech and big business. It's the party of universities. And from their perspective, the more cheap labor that flows in, particularly if they vote Democrat, the better.
Perfect. Yeah.
We need to be standing with Americans. We need to be standing for jobs. And, you know, you were talking about a 50-state movement. I want to point out the Democrats' agenda is truly radical. What does it say? Even California is recalling Gavin Newsom. When you shut down schools, you know 40% of kids K through 12 right now are going to in-person schools. 60% are not. That's a generation of kids being left behind,
Senator,
a significant chunk of whom are black or Hispanic, and the Democrats are abandoning them. This is an opportunity for common sense, and I think that's what we ought to be fighting for.
Senator, real quick one, yes or no, should we boycott the 2022 Beijing Games?
To be honest, I haven't thought about that question. I'm generally not a fan of boycotting things like boycotting the Olympics.
They're committing
I didn't like
genocide.
it when Jimmy
Senator, aren't they committing genocide, ongoing genocide?
Look, they are committing genocide.
So
I've introduced legislation.
Why should we give Xi, sorry to interrupt, but why should we give Xi a big propaganda coup by sending our people over there to be in a packed stadium after they inadvertently or purposely released a virus and they're committing ongoing genocide? How do we, as a country, countenance that?
Because we shouldn't punish American athletes. I think we should go over there, call them out, be absolutely explicit. I've introduced legislation to sanction the officials responsible for the genocide, to fight them and call them out directly. But, you know, when Jimmy Carter boycotted the Olympics,
right.
I didn't think it was a very good policy. I think hurting American athletes is a policy of weakness. But the answer we shouldn't do is to do what all the Democrats and a lot of Republicans will want to do, which is go over there and kiss Xi's behind.
Well,
we need to speak the truth and call them out unequivocally.
It's you and I part ways there, but I appreciate your answering the question, Senator. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.